10 years after firing his secretary, Alan Harrington is stunned when she reappears at a business meeting, not as a former employee, but as the mother of his son. The boy, Joshua, is a striking reflection of Alan, carrying the same sharp eyes and quiet confidence. In a heart-stopping moment, Alan realizes the depth of the secret he abandoned and faces the guilt he buried. Desperate to connect with his son, Alan is thrust into an emotional journey he never expected, one that forces him to confront the man he's become. Will he win back the family he lost, or is he far too late? Let's find out. But before we dive in, leave a comment and let us know where you are watching from today. And if this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories. In the high-rise offices of Harrington Industries, CEO Alan Harrington sat at his glass-topped desk, feeling on top of the world. He was a man of wealth, power, and undeniable charm, used to commanding attention and respect wherever he went. But beneath his polished exterior, Alan carried a dark secret, a forbidden affair with his secretary, Claire. For a brief time, it was exhilarating. The thrill of secrecy, stolen glances, and late nights had left him breathless. But as rumors began to circulate in the office, Alan saw the risk, and his perfect image mattered too much. One fateful afternoon, a minor office mishap brought everything to the surface. An email, meant only for Claire, found its way to the wrong person. Alan knew immediately that it was only a matter of time before his indiscretion became public. He couldn't allow his life or career to be ruined, and so he made a swift decision. He fired Claire on the spot, ending both her career and their affair without a single word of apology. She left in silence, visibly heartbroken, her final glance a mix of betrayal and hurt that haunted Alan for months. 4 years, Alan managed to bury his secret, living his life as though nothing had happened. He convinced himself it was all in the past, a minor bump in his journey to success. After her abrupt dismissal, Claire vanished from Alan's life, but her path was anything but smooth. Pregnant and struggling with the reality of raising a child alone, she faced hardships that Alan could never understand. With strength she didn't know she had, Claire worked tirelessly to build a stable life for herself and her son, Joshua. Despite the pain of Alan's betrayal, she channeled her energy into giving Joshua a happy, nurturing childhood, never sharing the truth about his father. Joshua was Alan's mirror image, with the same strong jawline, piercing blue eyes, and quiet confidence. And as he grew older, Claire couldn't deny how much Joshua reminded her of the life she'd left behind. But she chose to bury the past, finding peace in her new life. 10 years later, Alan was an even more prominent figure in the business world, having turned his company into a powerhouse. One morning, he received news of a major investor meeting. His firm had recently acquired an up-and-coming tech company, and he was eager to finalize the deal that would strengthen his legacy. But as he stepped into the conference room that morning, he was met with a shock, a familiar face among the representatives of the new company. It was Claire. Dressed in a tailored suit, she stood beside her son, now a confident young boy. Alan felt his world spin as he noticed the resemblance between the boy and himself. Claire met his gaze with a calm, almost knowing expression, her eyes unflinching. "Mr. Harrington," she greeted, her voice steady and composed. "This is my son, Joshua. He'll be joining us in this meeting." Alan's throat tightened, and his mind whirled with questions. Could it be? The resemblance was undeniable, but his pride refused to accept it. Throughout the meeting, Alan's focus was shattered, his gaze frequently drifting to Joshua. Claire handled the negotiations with poise, and her intelligence and determination shone in every word she spoke. Joshua occasionally whispered into her ear, offering insights that surprised even the senior executives in the room. After the meeting, Alan pulled Claire aside, unable to contain his questions any longer. "Claire, is he?" "Yes, Alan," she replied, her voice unwavering. "Joshua is your son." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. All these years, he had assumed the scandal was long buried. He had never considered the possibility that his brief relationship with Claire had resulted in a child. His mind raced with emotions: guilt, shock, confusion, and, surprisingly, an unspoken pride. "Why didn't you tell me?" he managed, feeling suddenly vulnerable. "You never cared to know, Alan. You ended things and left me to pick up the pieces." "I was on my own," she said, her voice calm but laced with years of pain. "But I didn't come here to reopen old wounds. I came to give our son an opportunity you would never have offered him otherwise." In the days following their meeting, Alan's life spiraled into a series of difficult realizations. He grappled with the knowledge that he had a son, one he had unknowingly abandoned. The image of Joshua haunted him, not just for the resemblance but for the child's intelligence and promise, qualities Alan couldn't deny mirrored his own. Determined to make things right, Alan reached out to Claire, pleading for a chance to get to know his son. After much consideration, Claire agreed to allow them to meet, albeit cautiously. The first meeting was tense, with Joshua's eyes betraying a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Over time, however, Alan found himself drawn to the boy's wit and strength, traits that reminded him of Claire and, undeniably, of himself. Slowly, they began to bridge the gap between them, developing a tentative connection that would take time to strengthen. With Claire's cautious blessing, Alan worked to build a relationship with Joshua, offering guidance and support. Joshua, who had grown up without a father figure, was hesitant, but he soon realized that he had a natural curiosity about the world of business, a curiosity that Alan was thrilled to nurture. Through Joshua, Alan found himself learning more about the person he had become. The arrogance that once defined him began to fade as he took on the role of a father, rediscovering parts of himself he had long buried beneath ambition and power. One evening, as Alan and Joshua were talking, Joshua asked, "Why did you fire Mom?" Alan hesitated, feeling the weight of his past mistakes. "I made a mistake, Joshua. I was selfish, and I thought only of my own image and success. I never considered the consequences of my actions on others." Joshua nodded, absorbing the words. For the first time, Alan felt truly humbled, recognizing the impact his actions had had on two lives he had carelessly cast aside. Months passed, and Alan grew closer to both Joshua and Claire, who watched his transformation with guarded hope. The once powerful CEO, who had lived a life of arrogance and self-importance, found himself changed. He no longer saw wealth and power as the only markers of success. Instead, he valued the relationships he was rebuilding. In an unexpected gesture, Alan decided to make a formal apology to Claire and acknowledge her resilience publicly. "Claire," he began, his voice filled with sincerity, "I owe you everything for raising such a remarkable son on your own. I should have been there, and I'm sorry for the pain I caused." Claire looked at him with surprise, her once hardened expression softening. "Thank you, Alan. Apologies don't change the past, but I appreciate the man you've become. For Joshua's sake, I hope we can continue this journey together." As the years went on, Alan and Claire managed to forge a respectful partnership as parents, and he remained a constant presence in Joshua's life. The boy grew into a confident young man with his father's drive and his mother's strength, ready to make his own mark on the world. Alan had lost his perfect reputation, but in its place, he gained something far more meaningful: a family, built not on power but on understanding, resilience, and love. The once arrogant CEO had transformed, realizing that true success was not in the wealth he had amassed but in the lives he had helped shape and the legacy he would leave behind.